People are starting to say XRP is dead, but history shows this is exactly what happens before a major move. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiteboard Crypto Update. In today's video, we will talk about XRP. So be sure to stay focused, as you surely don't want to miss out on this. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications by hitting the bell so you never miss any of our uploads. This video is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Right now, a large number of investors are feeling mentally exhausted. They're looking at the market and asking themselves, will things ever turn around? And to be honest, if you're feeling that way, it's completely understandable. The crypto market is not easy. It tests your patience, your emotions, and your conviction. Watching the price of XRP day after day, especially when it's either stagnant or declining, can take a psychological toll. Even if you've done your research and you understand the fundamentals, it's still difficult to stay confident during these periods. But here's the important part. If you've truly done your due diligence, then you already know there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The challenge is not knowing that the opportunity exists. The challenge is having the patience and discipline to stay the course while the market tests you. Now let's talk about some actual data, because this is where things get interesting. There's a development involving Evernorth and XRP that highlights something very important. About 12 months ago, the amount of tokenized U.S. Treasuries on XRP was sitting at around $50 million. Today, that number has grown to approximately $418 million. That's an 8x increase in just 1 year. Think about that for a second. What does that tell us? It tells us two key things. Adoption is happening and demand is growing. Those are the exact fundamentals you want to see in any asset. But then the obvious question comes up. If adoption and demand are clearly increasing, why isn't the price reflecting that growth? This is where we have to face a reality about the crypto market. It doesn't always behave rationally. Good news does not always translate into immediate positive price action. There are external forces at play, and macro factors have a significant influence. For example, geopolitical tensions, like what's happening in the Middle East, create uncertainty across global markets. On top of that, regulatory uncertainty, such as whether or not legislation like the Clarity Act will be passed, adds another layer of hesitation for investors. When uncertainty dominates, markets tend to stall. But here's the key point. This phase does not last forever. Eventually, utility and real-world use cases take over. And when that happens, assets with strong fundamentals like XRP have the potential to reflect their true value. Now, when we talk about the future, many projections suggest that by 2028 or 2030, trillions of dollars could move on-chain. This isn't just speculation. It's backed by research from major firms like Boston Consulting Group. But a lot of people misunderstand this timeline. They assume that nothing significant will happen until those years arrive. That's not how markets work. Growth happens gradually, and price action tends to follow that growth over time. As more value moves onto the blockchain and adoption continues to increase, the price will begin to reflect those changes. But first, the market needs to move past this phase of uncertainty. Let's also talk about strategy for a moment. Personally, I continue to use dollar cost averaging, or DCA. Now, this is not financial advice. You should always make your own decisions. But historically, DCA has been one of the most effective strategies during uncertain market conditions. It allows investors to accumulate over time without trying to perfectly time the market, which is extremely difficult to do. Now let's address one of the biggest concerns people have right now, the escrow system. There's a growing belief among some investors that the escrow is permanently holding XRP back. But when you actually look at how the system works, the reality is quite different. At the beginning of each month, about 1 billion XRP is released from escrow. However, the majority of that, typically around 70 to 80%, is placed back into escrow. So the actual amount entering circulation is much smaller than people assume. In fact, there have even been instances where the price of XRP increased on the same day as an escrow release. What does that tell us? It suggests that the current level of liquidity in the market is sufficient to absorb these releases without significantly impacting the price. In other words, the escrow is not the dominant factor controlling XRP's price direction. It's also important to understand why the escrow system was introduced in the first place. Back in December 2017, it was designed to bring transparency and predictability to the market. Unlike many other crypto projects that have come and gone, often dumping large amounts of tokens on the market, this system ensures that supply is managed in a structured and responsible way. This is exactly the kind of framework that institutional investors look for. It builds trust, it provides clarity, and it allows for long-term planning. Additionally, Ripple does not have unrestricted access to the entire escrow. They cannot simply release all of it into the market at once. It doesn't work that way. In fact, you could argue that the escrow system is one of the most bullish aspects of the entire XRP ecosystem. It represents discipline, stability, and a long-term vision, qualities that are essential for any asset that aims to achieve widespread adoption. To wrap this up, I want to address the broader sentiment. During bear markets, it's very common to hear people say things like, "This is a scam," or "It's never going to recover." But if you look at the history of financial markets, you'll see a consistent pattern. Markets always go through cycles, and they always recover. These difficult periods are the ones that define long-term success. They're the moments you look back on and realize that staying patient and sticking to your strategy made all the difference. At the end of the day, these are just my thoughts and my opinions. But one thing remains true. Those who understand the fundamentals and stay consistent during the toughest times are often the ones who come out ahead when the market finally turns. Well, guys, that's all we have for you today. What are your thoughts on XRP? Get involved and let us know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, then be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching.